We are capturing this for posterity.
That's terrifying. I don't want any sort of posterity in here. Get that out of here.
Not posterior, posterity.
Oh, I guess you do have to be specific.
One is fine and is a good recording. The other one means you're being a butt. And that's not what we're talking about.
I mean, I'm a butt a lot in this podcast. It's pretty much the norm.
That's your role, I guess? I know, you sit there just poised, waiting to jump in with some snarky or humorous comment. And it's part of the fun.
Is my goal.
Yes.
Hi there, and welcome to Fantasy for the Ages, the show where father and son sit down and finish talking about a fantasy book. Kind of. I'm the son of that equation, Zach.
And I'm the father, Jim. Great to have you with us here for what counts for us episode 86, which we're calling Another One Bites the Dust. Very appropriate. Careful, not too many notes.
I mean, I stopped.
How you doing today, Zach?
I'm doing okay. I was not so much okay yesterday, which is when we were originally going to record this episode. So we moved it to today entirely because of me, and I'm just grateful to see people still here today because I was not feeling it.
Now, I couldn't help but notice that was January 1st.
Yes.
As in right after New Year's Eve. Did your under the weatherness have anything to do with that?
Yes and no, in that on the bright side, I wasn't really too sick. I wasn't just like hungover. It was related to alcohol in that I got way too dehydrated though. So I woke up with a horrible migraine from specifically the dehydration.
You gotta keep the fluids coming in. Gotta drink that water, man. Drink that water.
Yeah. Oops. Anyway, how are you, Dad?
I'm doing good. I took the time that you gave me to do some extra podcast work, prepping for next week's episode when we're going to have our wrap-up episode that we'll record as a live stream next Saturday, 10 a.m. Pacific time. It's going to be spectacular as we just have some fun talking about this book as a whole and the first 3 books. Really looking forward to it. We have great guests coming on. We're just going to have a blast. So I did some prep for that. We're going to have some promotion material hitting YouTube today, letting people know, hey, come play, come see. It's going to be fun. So that's what I've been doing. Otherwise, I'm feeling good. The snow is almost gone now.
Woohoo!
It's going to rain the next week and never freeze again. Yes! So happy about that.
Speaking of snow, I don't have any, but I do have a weird thing today.
Okay.
It was the first time in my apartment that I've ever turned the heater on. I was like, it's cold enough. I'm doing it. Finally.
Okay.
I'm still keeping it a little bit cool. And with that, I've got some Irish coffee today. Help warm me up inside and out.
I see. All right. That seems appropriate then.
Do you have a wattail today?
I did. I made a wattail, and this is a brand new one.
Ooh.
It's rather yummy. I'm calling it the Stone Falls.
Ah.
It has Malibu rum, Jägermeister, amaretto, pineapple juice, and then topped off some 7-Up. It's not a super strong drink. It is a very tasty drink.
It sounds tasty.
And it's one worth celebrating the fulfillment of prophecy.
Wait, I don't get it. What's that have to do with today's episode? Now, some people are going to think I was serious about that. I'm not that dumb, okay?
So you're saying you are dumb, just not that dumb.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
That is correct.
Well, we have a few brief notes to get through before we can
Yes.
jump into today's content. One, we want to refer people again to our YouTube channel. We already talked about the special that's coming up next weekend, so when you go find our YouTube channel, if you're not a subscriber already, you will see that content there waiting, the special wrap-up episode. So check it out. And we've got lots of other things we're putting onto our YouTube channel. More and more, all of our midweek specials are going up there as actual video. All of our Wheel of Time content is still there as audio only. But take a look. We're exploring, seeing what else we can put out there. We want to update a few things from our last Wheel of Time episode, and also, I think a midweek we had done.
Something like that.
Yeah, a few things that I followed up afterwards to see, were we right? Were you right? Was I right? And okay, here's the skinny. You asked about, can you keep a coal banked and warm in a tin can?
In a tin can. I was hoping someone would take
like
a
Matt
coal
did.
and put it in an Altoid can and find out. We didn't, but someone somewhere did.
That's right. You can find it on the internet, this great trove of knowledge. People actually do this for like when they go camping and they're going to take supplies out to allow them to start a fire more effectively and efficiently. You can take coal banked in a tin can, and if it's properly insulated with some oxygen, but not too much,
and cared for
you
occasionally,
can actually keep that going, for a good 4 days. It can still be enough heat, occasionally blowing on it to kind of keep it going. Yeah,
which is
it works.
Honestly fantastic and proves that Robert Jordan did his research, or maybe had done some of this himself.
And Matt only needed to keep it hot for a few hours, so
he was fine.
Now, you threw into our podcast, the Last Wheel of Time one, the word apparate.
Yes. And everyone knew what I was talking about.
And I kind of gave you a little crap there. I was like, pulling in from a different series, dude. And you were like, well, come on, it's a real word. And well, it turns out it's not.
Yeah, apparently not. Everyone still knew what I was talking about, probably. But, yeah, no, it's not a word.
Yeah, it's a backwards derivation from the word apparition. And basically, J.K. Rowling and other fantasy authors have created this word, apparate, for something that, of course, doesn't really happen in real life.
So, from now on, instead, I will use the terms bamf in and bamf out.
Ooh, I am good with that as a Marvel honk. I am totally good with that. Then, specifically from our midweek episode on The Witcher. And again, that's one that's available on YouTube. When you're hearing this, you'll be able to find it already. If you're here with us live, it's not there yet. It'll be there. Well, actually, the ones with us live are patrons, so they do already have access to it. Because patrons get our stuff early. Anyways, we did an episode on The Witcher. We talked about the books, the TV show, the video games, and how they all kind of connect and such. And it came up in our conversation between you and me and your friend Brendan.
I know where this came up.
Yeah.
It came up from my drink. Because I was drinking a liqueur made in Czechia.
And I'd never heard Czechia. And there you came about to discover, okay, this is now what they call the Czech Republic. And I'm like, I'd never heard that. I asked you, when's that been? You've been like, since 2008 or something. So I looked it up afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yes,
Except
but no. That's the problem.
Yes,
but no.
and no.
Because the official name is still the Czech Republic.
Which I actually had to go in further to this note and add to it because you looked about 2 seconds on Google and then said confirmation bias, I'm right. Because if you go further, you see it is still an official term to use the Czech Republic. That's a UN official term. It also is an official shortening by their government to use Czechia. And most non-English speaking countries use that shortened term. However, English-speaking nations stick to the Czech Republic, typically.
Well, there we go.
So both are correct, and in my brain, this is a suffering on my part of most of my European-based experiences and knowledge were in a different language. The reasons I was there was a different language.
Yep.
For example, the city of Cologne, I did not know was called the city of Cologne for years. I called it Köln for years.
Well, that's the German name.
Exactly. Köln. I just didn't know the English name because I only knew the German name.
Mm-hmm. So we both can feel right with this research in that you're satisfied. Most people over there call it Czechia, but it has not completely been dismissed that it's the Czech Republic and I was saying it wrong. It's like, nope, both are correct from different points of view. So there you go.
Now, our last correction and note, I have a guess on what it is. Okay, so my guess on this, we were saying a different country called Paraguay. I don't think it's pronounced Paraguay, it's Paraguay. Is that correct?
No.
Darn,
No.
I was hoping that was why this note was there. I have no idea.
I had shared last time that we had a new listener now from Uruguay. The only landlocked country in South America. Well, turns out it was actually Paraguay. And it's still the only landlocked country, but it's Paraguay is the one, not Uruguay.
So you had the same landlocked, but not the right country.
That's right. It's a tiny little country, and I'd misread it on the map, so My bad.
On the bright side, I had not scratched it off yet. So,
So please scratch off Paraguay.
we're sorry that we got your country name wrong. That's on us.
But we're glad to have people from Paraguay with us.
Absolutely.
Last note, just to remind people, you still have a chance to vote for our upcoming To Read or Not to Read series. All Patreon supporters get a vote as to what series you want to see us cover as we move into these new special episodes, midweek specials during 2022. We're planning out a whole bunch of them over the course of the year. Our patrons get to actually place votes based on what tier of supporters they are. The higher the tier, the more votes you get. And we're going to then have to do whichever one wins. So check that out on our Patreon page if you want to know more about it. Or come talk to us on Discord. We'll explain it to you. And we definitely are looking for people to have a little fun here, telling us what series you want us to feature when we're talking about should you or should you not read it, and why. So that's coming up.
Now, Jordo asks in the Discord how we're going to break ties on this. I don't think my dad and I have actually talked about how we're doing this, but I'm of the opinion that we won't. If there's a tie, everybody wins.
If there's a tie, we'll probably have to do both. Or depends, though, because that could get crazy. What if there's a 5-way tie?
Then we'll have to do all 5.
I'm hoping for more patrons to get in there and vote so we don't have to worry about it. Okay, let's talk some Dragon Reborn, because this is our last episode on original content in this book.
I guess that is a correct way to state it, because it is the penultimate episode on this book, but we are covering the final chapters.
Yes, chapters 55 and 56 today. The first one, chapter 55, is called What is Written in Prophecy.
What is written in prophecy?
We're going to find out when we go into the chapter, doofus. What are you doing? Totally cut me off here.
Oh,
okay.
Sorry.
I have a question for you, though.
Sure.
Have you noticed that we haven't had much of Rand point of views in this book?
Yes, on my first time reading through the series, it actually made this one of my least favorite books because I was so just used to Rand POVs, and since then, it's one of my favorite because it has so little Rand.
Okay. Well, then sorry to disappoint you. This is going to be a lot of Rand now.
Don't get me wrong.
We're done with that.
I'm not anti-Rand. I just think it's really nice to give other people some time in the spotlight.
Well, they certainly did in this book, that's for sure. But now we are with Rand. He's finally arrived at the heart of the stone, where we've pretty much known since way back early in the book that this is where he was headed.
Basically, the entire book was fluff until this moment.
His goal is hanging in the air right in front of him. The sword, Kalendor.
That is not a sword.
The sword in the stone that isn't really in the stone, as it turns out. I mean, it's in the stone, but it's not in the stone. Does that come across in audio? I don't know. They can't.
I mean, probably not, but also probably, at least at this moment, this sword is not in any physical stone.
There you go. It's floating in the air. Magic.
That would be accurate.
Yep. And seeing his thoughts, we get confirmation that he's come here because he thinks he's the Dragon Reborn, but it's also still possible he might be a dragon puppet of the White Tower. And he decided everyone knows this is a prophecy, that the only person who can take Kalendor is the Dragon Reborn. So if he can do it, proof that would satisfy his own mind.
Yeah.
So you asked what is written in prophecy? Well, now you got it.
The Dragon Reborn will be the only one to take and hold Kalendor. There we go.
So if he can take the sword, he has that certainty he is the Dragon Reborn.
Yes.
And he can let go of the fear that he's just another of those men who can channel that the White Tower will use. Now, why would he even have fear of that, Zach?
Well, I mean, for years at this point, and by years, I mean like a year, roughly, including a time jump, he's had in his brain these names that were just rattled off to him in a dream by good old Ballsy, confirmed then by Tom that these were all false dragons and supposedly tools of the White Tower to give power and
tools,
give bits of destruction in targeted ways here and there, just used. Rand doesn't want to be used.
What a bunch of tools.
Exactly.
He doesn't want to be a tool.
No, he's a farmer. He uses tools.
But nothing can be simple for Rand al'Thor. We're going to learn here. Because before he can just reach out and take that sword, someone speaks to him, revealing, "Oh, I'm not alone." And it's a man who believes he knows him, or at least who is believed by some to be, as the man steps out of the shadows, calling him Lews Therin, Kinslayer, and encourages him to take Kalendor. Now, this is the man Rand and many others have seen in their dreams, but the one Rand saw putting Egwene, Elaine, and Nynaeve in a cage during a dream. And of course, we should recognize this man for who he is, Balal, one of the Forsaken, the one known as Netweaver.
Now, we say recognize. We may or may not have necessarily seen this person, but we know who this person is, especially from what Moraine had said.
Well, and in the book, at this point, it gives Rand a very clear description of what he looks like, and it's just like a man in the dreams has been described by many others in the text. So we as a reader can put this together very easily. Or at least we should be able to. Now, from their conversation, we learn a few tidbits. First of all, Balal admits to have setting a trap, with the girls as bait. He notes that Rand has to take Kalendor, or
the girls will die.
Yep. But he also shares the girls will not go free regardless. Balal plans to make them serve him.
Right, so hard pause, Balal. If you're making true on that promise, Rand's starting to think, which is better? Save the girls, let them die.
Of course, he's going to want to choose option C here.
Yes.
That's coming up. Ashamael had told Balal about Rand, that though he is Lews Therin, the Dragon Reborn, Rand apparently doesn't remember anything of that former life. So Balal knows this. Balal claims to have ridden to war side by side with Lews Therin in the past.
Okay.
And it's for that reason he's chosen to give him a chance to save himself and those three girls. Take Kalendor, perhaps it will help you survive. Do you believe that?
No, it sounds like Balal to me, but we'll go with it.
It sounds like Bulal. Did you just say Bulal? Really?
I did.
Okay, Kalendor is identified here in their conversation as one of the most powerful Sa'angreal ever made. Remind us of what that means, Zach.
Sa'angreals are basically Angreals, but super, which means it will super help with channeling.
So much better.
Like, that's the super oversimplified version, but yes.
Balal creates then a sword of black fire, and he tries to use it to threaten and drive Rand towards Kalendor, forcing him to use it to defend himself.
Aha, but Rand knows this trick.
Yes, but Rand simply uses Sidene, and poof, here's my magic sword, look at me. You've got black, I've got red. His red flame sword has a heron mark on it. Aww. Is Rand actually worthy of having a heron mark blade?
Technically at this point, yes. Is he skilled enough for it? Maybe not. Technically, did he kill somebody who was in possession of a heron-marked blade and therefore has earned one? Yeah, he did. That Shan-Chan leader.
Except that's debatable. Because you need to be witnessed, and no one saw it.
No. Yes? You need to be witnessed.
Yes.
At least one person needs to see it? Is that true?
Now, Jordo's in the Discord saying lots of people saw it, but I would argue that. There were servants in the room, but they had their heads down to the floor. They did not see it. It was just Rand and
But
Turok.
if they were in the room, they did witness it. Seeing and witnessing are two different things.
I mean, unless the head just fell off by itself.
Exactly. So, I would say, by technicality, Rand does have a right to claim one.
And those witnesses, they could come forward now and tell what they saw, right?
Doesn't matter.
Oh, no, they can't because they killed themselves.
Let's be real here. Rand was carrying around one for a while, and though people looked at it questioningly, no one outright said, yo, you don't have a right to have that. No, they were just like, you're so young and you have that? It's one of those things where you don't test it, because if you're wrong and they did earn it, you're dead.
That's true. All right, well, here are these two guys with their flaming swords go at each other. This is not Bilal's plan. He's like, dude, use Kalendor, but Rand's like, no, I have my own.
This sword works just as well.
And you realize what we have here. You realize what's truly going on.
What you think of, I disagree because I see flames going off like a flame tongue sword out of D&D, but I know where you're going with this.
Totally. This is the long-awaited lightsaber battle of this show. They are going at it. I'm sure Rand's probably going,
Fair enough. That's probably accurate. You're going to have to help me out here because you're admittedly the better Star Wars nerd. What's the name of the dark saber? Is it actually called the dark saber? That the Mandalorian, that one, the one Mandalore super black. What is that called? The one that's black.
I don't remember, but I think it might be the dark saber.
I think it might be. But that's the only black lightsaber that comes into my brain.
Yeah, it was really a special situation.
So what I'm saying is Bilal is a Mandalorian. Hard stop.
Okay. Let's go with that while we're blending in our different fantasy genre stuff. Well, as they battle, Rand notes that Bilal's Blackfire sword also has a heron mark. So, crap, he's a blade master as well.
Shit.
And Rand does not have the breadth of experience. Even if he's truly earned the blade, he's not got years and years of training like clearly Bilal does. So very quickly he realizes Bilal is way better than me and I'm gonna die.
This is one of those moments where peak physical condition, if you and I were to go into it on a sword fight, I shouldn't win. I might, but I shouldn't.
Right. But Bilal doesn't seem to press his advantage at all. He just taunts Rand and still seems to keep trying to get him to take Kalendor. From these taunts, we do hear Lews Therin was a great swordsman once upon a time. He was better than Bilal.
Nice.
And in fact, back in the day, they were both heavily involved with sword fighting when it was a sport. Just something you did to pass the time. It was never about killing back then, but they got all into the style, the skill of it, and they were peak athletes in sword fighting.
So while initially this makes me think like fencing, the style of it and the fact that it still translates to actual combat makes me think it's more like the actual LARPing battle stuff that happens, which is a lot more brutal, but has more and fewer rules. It's a lot of fun if you're interested in any of that medieval fight stuff. Go do it safely.
I imagine these sword forms that Rand has learned, that Lan taught him, they go all the way back to the Age of Legends, though I'm sure they've changed a little, like language and stuff changed over time.
They're at least derived from that time.
Yes. So Rand is tempted to reach out for Kalendor, but he has doubts troubling him that actually stop him from doing it. Because what if he turns and takes it, and then something blocks him so he can't really grab it because, ta-da, he's not really the dragon.
That'd be a problem.
In that case, Bilal would just cut him down from behind, and he doesn't want to take that chance.
Mm-hmm.
So he continues to simply defend Bilal, blow after blow. But as he does so, he gets corralled closer and closer to the center towards Kalendor. He's running out of room. And then something changes. They're not alone anymore. Who else is in the room all of a sudden, Zach?
Well, there's a whole bunch of fighting, as there's soldiers, clearly Tyrin, Terran, however you want to say it, these defenders of the stone, and then a whole bunch of Aiel also in there. And this has turned into a full-out battle inside the stone.
Yes, and a lot of soldiers are dying. Some Aiel, but a lot of soldiers.
But the Aiel are really good, okay?
But his focus, of course, he sees this on the periphery. He's still defending against Bilal. And with this focus mostly on Bilal, understandably, with the sword coming at him, he, backing up, trips over a soldier who has died here in the stone now. He falls over that guy. Bilal raises his blade, insisting Rand take Kalendor and defend himself now, or I'll just kill you. But then, a commanding woman's voice is heard. No! Bilal steps back, out of Rand's sword reach, to turn and look, and we see Moiraine stepping forward, eyes on Bilal.
So what I'm hearing is, no matter how old you are, you still respond when someone uses mom voice.
The mom voice works again, that's right. However, the Forsaken isn't impressed. Bilal speaks dismissively. I thought I'd dealt with you. Well, no matter. You're just an annoyance. He figures he'll just cage her and deal with her later, like those other girls already down in the prison. And he raises his hand toward her, but Moraine has never slowed her approach. From the moment she said no and things hesitated, she's walking right at him.
She had a plan, and she's sticking to it. And so, from the moment she opened the door, she started collecting what she needed to cast various weaves, and that's not good for Bilal.
Nope, because as he's raising his hand to do something, hers are already raised, and she zaps him. Bilal senses what's happening at that moment, and he, in surprise, shouts, "No!" But a beam of balefire shoots out of Moraine's hands and takes him out. Rand doesn't know the name of what Moraine just did, but he certainly sees the effects.
Monologuing and one-liners, it's really just a waste of time that gives the good guys a chance to either kill you or come up with a plan that they didn't have because they rushed in half-cocked.
Jordo's pointing out in Discord that he doesn't picture that casting things like in the books is anything like really in the TV show.
No.
Where it does seem like it takes a while to pull stuff.
To me, there needs to be some element of at least a little bit of time for your brain to do what it needs to do, because quite literally, Moraine is quicker on the draw than Bilal.
Kind of where I get, she's quicker than even the book can paint. Because we have to read what happens, but really, I picture it's, no, and he looks, and then she zap. I mean, it's just moments.
You say that, but it clearly says he speaks dismissively, and that he has time to see what happens and go, no, himself.
But still, it would take less time to look over, make a disparaging comment, I'll take care of you later.
I agree, it doesn't take a lot of time. I'm simply saying it needs to take some amount of time, because it also takes Bilal some amount of time to do whatever he was trying to do to stop her. Therefore, she was faster than him because she didn't take the time to stop. It's not instantaneous.
If anything, I think it's safe to say this was a riskier move for Moraine than she initially planned, because she had to use the mom voice because she sensed Rand was about to be taken out. Otherwise, why say anything? She could have just blindsided him. He never saw it coming. She took a little risk, but because, as we've pointed out, he's a monologuing villain who loves to hear himself talk, it all still works out.
But if weaving really takes no time at all, she wouldn't have needed to delay and yell out no at him.
Oh, none of us said it takes no time at all. It just doesn't take the amount of time we're seeing in the TV show these days.
No, and that's just the kind of distinction I want to make. It does take a little bit of time, just maybe not as much as the show seems to show. But they spent a lot of money on their CGI budget, and it looks really cool.
So the show shows and the weave weaves? I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know where that came from, sorry.
And the wheel wills. Wait, that wasn't the same.
All right, this event has stopped everything in the chamber. Bilal's just turned into these shimmering flecks that are fading away, and everyone's turned, they're looking. It's silent. And into the silence, Moraine speaks, telling Rand, Bilal had one thing right. You do need to take Kalendor. It is your birthright. And though she would have preferred he know more about who he is and all before he came and took the sword, well, he's here now anyways, so obviously he needs to take it. And again, it can't ever be easy for our boy Rand.
Or Moraine.
Because then whips of black lightning appear around Moraine, and she's lifted and hurled aside, knocked unconscious.
That hurt.
Enter bad guy number 2.
Ah.
Or perhaps he should be bad guy number 1. Because it's our old friend Ballsy.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, Rand sees a deep shadow from which those black whips came out, and within the shadow, fiery eyes. And then he realizes, actually hanging in the air in this darkness is Baalzamon. And he's declared, well, time to die. He reaches out toward Rand with his power, but Rand then jumps to his feet and finally grabs Kalendor.
Because, you know, Rand may be slow on the uptake. He may be a little dumb sometimes. But Moraine confirmed, hey, yo, take it. And Rand is confident in one thing. Ballsy's gotta go.
Yeah. He's also probably thinking, what the heck do I have to do to finish this guy?
Yeah.
Rand feels great pain as Baalzamann's power does strike him. But even as he feels the pain, his hand has made it to Kalendor's hilt. Everything changes. Because Rand is filled with the one power, just surging through him. More power than he ever believed possible. The enormous surge of power nearly overwhelms him, but with a struggle, he gains control and then turns to Ba'alzamon. Twice before they've battled, this time Rand means to finish him once and for all. And Ba'alzamon's like, yeah, nope.
I mean,
seeing what's happened, he's like, I'm out.
it's not that he's specifically scared, but he does tuck tail and run.
Oh, totally. He just steps right back into that shadow and he's gone. Now, Rand, he just looks at what happened for a moment. He doesn't really know what, nor does he know how he repeats it, but basically he reaches out through Kalendor and opens a door of some sort to follow Ba'alzamon, and he steps through it.
I can do that too.
Now, we'll leave Rand for a moment.
Okay.
We're going to go to Egwene.
All right.
Now, we left her in the world of dreams.
Yes.
She was trying to help them get out of their prison cells.
Sneaking down to the dungeon, doing some various things.
Right. She's trying to find the particular cell where the others are captive, but she's run into a bit of a curveball, because here in the dream world, all the cells are empty.
Yeah, it's kind of that whole thing where, like, these things aren't physically here. People can come here through various means, but, like, you're not always there. Oops.
And if you're going to dream yourself somewhere, it's a beach in the South Pacific. It's not a prison cell in the dank Stone of Tyr.
Yeah, no, you're definitely not going to be stuck inside the stone. You'd be spending time warming yourself on one.
She's got to figure out how to find the right place where they are all imprisoned. And she comes up with something.
And she gets lucky.
She does. Maybe it's what the pattern willed for her.
This has to be, in my brain, come on, at least one of the women in the cells, they gotta be Taviran for this moment to work.
She notices outside one of the cells a flicker. And it's one of the Black Aja, sitting on a bench just outside the cell. She recognizes her as Amiko Nagoyan. She appears to be on guard duty, and she's flickering in and out of the dream. And Egwene, best she can figures, is Amiko must have one of those ter'angreals that were stolen from the tower that were connected to dreaming.
And not only
and
that,
maybe fiddling with it or something.
She's got to be, like, falling asleep on the job a little bit.
Yep. So if she's in contact with it while she's drifting off, she's ending up here in Tel'aran'rhiod.
And so it's like, huh. And then for a quick moment, you were in the dream. And then you're back. Dream back. It's a mess.
Egwene has learned previously that a woman can be cut off from the true source, even if she has already embraced Saidar, but it's much more difficult than shielding before someone starts.
Yeah.
So she gets herself ready here. She is going to lash out with a lot of power and try to shield Amiko.
Okay.
Sure enough, Amiko flickers back in and bam!
Nice timing.
The weaves break through resistance. She does feel a little push, a little hard, but then shielded. Amiko screams. And now she doesn't disappear from Tel'aran'rhiod. It's like she's trapped here as well.
She got stuck.
Egwene uses weaves of air, like she's done before, to band her in place. And here she is now just stuck and looking terrified and babbling incomprehensibly. And Egwene, she just then ignores her, destroys the door to the cell, rushes in to find it's also empty. Dang it. So now she steps out of the dream. And Egwene wakes back up, still feeling like crap, because she's still bruised and battered everywhere. And they're still locked in the cell. She's like, what? So what did I accomplish? Well, she does learn from Nynaeve and Elaine that there was a scream just outside the door a moment ago. But they still can't touch the source. So whatever's out there is still preventing them from reaching the source and channeling. However, it feels different. So whatever Egwene did change things a little, but hasn't freed them.
Well, crap.
Basically, they decide that, okay, you shielded Amiko, but she was still managing to hold on to the shield that she was maintaining here in the real world, even though she's shielded in Tel'aran'rhiod.
I have bones to pick with this. but I can't say it yet. At least I don't feel like I can.
And they're saying it's partly because she's in two different places. She wasn't fully asleep. She was like dozing. So they got her in Teleron Riyadh, but she wasn't fully asleep, so she's still able to partly be maintaining this shield in the real world.
I don't think I agree with that. But if you want to know what I think, you'll have to wait till the spoiler room.
Okay. But now we're going to shift POV again. Because Egwene and the girls are sitting here going, we have made no real progress here. I guess I need to go back into Teleron Riyadh. And so she's trying to get back to sleep again. But while she's trying, Matt Cawthon, Juilin Sandar, they've arrived down here in the cells. And they're looking for where the girls might be. Juilin's on guard duty, kind of watching their back.
Mm-hmm.
Matt's the one moving in, looking around. And what he finds is a bunch of empty rooms. And Discord's already calling me out there for saying his name two different ways.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to appease all people. Juilin for some of you and Juilin for me.
I'm going to be honest, it just sounded like he said the same thing twice.
No, I didn't. Okay. He gets to the one cell where there's a woman sitting on a bench, a very pretty young woman it looks like to him, but who seems half asleep and yet at the same time half awake and miserable.
Interesting.
Suffering. Yes. He moves to investigate when Juilin yells out from behind him, "That's one of the Aes Sedai that took the girls!" And she pleads to him, help me, please.
Help me, Obi-Wan, you're my only hope.
But she's speaking like she's totally in a daze, like half asleep. Of course, knowing she's a evil Aes Sedai now, Matt doesn't help her one bit.
Nah, he slits her throat. I'm kidding. He doesn't do that.
Yeah, he would not do that. It's a woman.
Sexist won't kill her.
He takes the keys that are hanging from her belt. He opens the door. Ta-da! He finds the three girls, looking up at both of them in surprise. Nynaeve's line, "What under the light are you doing here?" And his response, "I came to bloody rescue you." He shares that there are Aiel all over the stone, and there's fighting going on. We'd better get out now. And seeing Egwene so beat up and seemingly unconscious, he offers to carry her. Instead, they wake Egwene, who wakes with dissatisfaction, saying, I hadn't solved it yet. Why'd you wake me? And then she sees Matt and repeats word for word, "What under the light are you doing here?" They don't seem to have an impression, very positive, of, Matt coming in to save the day. I mean,
No,
it
it's
just
like-
makes no sense he's even here.
The door is open now, and they're like, "Nah, go away. We had it under control. We almost had it. If you'll just relock the door, we were really interested in solving this puzzle room all for ourselves without any hints. So just go away. Our time is almost done."
He is definitely not feeling appreciated. So he's getting exasperated with them. "You're not hearing me. We've got to go." And all they want to do is talk at him. And then they see Juilin behind Matt. Now they look ready to kill. Now Juilin speaks up. By description, he explains, okay, Liandrin had done something to him to force him to betray them. Nynaeve acknowledges Liandrin's vile tricks, so okay, maybe this is not your fault after all. Matt's like, "Fine, can we go already?" As they move out into the hall, Amiko pleads to the girls, I'll be good. I'll come back to the light. I'll obey you." And Nynaeve just punches the woman so hard she falls off the bench unconscious. And with that, blink, the shield's gone.
Mm-hmm.
They can all touch the source again. I guess you would say Nynaeve did some thumping.
Definitely. Not a thumping stick, just a thumping fist. Works just as well, though.
We see Egwene bend over, dig into Amiko's pouch, and take something. What do you figure that was, Zach?
Probably that dream ter'angreal.
Yeah, the book doesn't tell us, but we can probably deduce that. Now that they can channel, Nynaeve uses the power to heal both Egwene and Elaine. And while she's doing this, Matt gives them what for what they've just done to a helpless woman. It's like, why'd you go and punch her?
'Cause she deserved it.
Mm-hmm. Nynaeve doesn't appreciate being called to task by this good-for-nothing who doesn't know what he's talking about, so she lifts him right off the ground with bands of air. And while dangling, she instructs him in the fact that you really have no idea what's going on and you should keep your opinion to yourself.
Okay, so that's messed up, and Nynaeve, you have no right to be doing what you're doing. Just saying, having power doesn't mean you should be using it on someone who came here to help you.
Matt is a good button pusher, though. So instead of being cowed, he simply puts on a goofy grin on his face and notes that he does know that I showed up and got you out of your cell. And nobody's shown me even a tidbit of appreciation. I know that. It's like, oh, yeah, okay. Nynaeve acknowledges you're probably right.
At least right now, they still won't show any appreciation. Don't hold your breath, Matt.
She kind of gives just a teeny bit there. Just a teeny bit. But just Nynaeve.
Doesn't
The other
really
girls don't.
count.
Nah. Matt then says, okay, can we go now that he's been released? But no. The girls say, we have business yet. There are other women to deal with, including Leandrin and Joya. Matt's flabbergasted. It's like, seriously? I just told you there's Aiel and fighting happening all over the stone, and you want to go look for more evil Aes Sedai? What is wrong with you women? But they have no time to listen to him, and they just leave. And then Matt's at this point, I'm picturing, he turns to Julian saying, dude, why didn't you bloody speak up? What is wrong with you? And Julian's like, yeah, I saw what good it did you speaking up. I think I made the right choice. Stay out of their way.
And then Matt does the sensible and not sensible thing, which is that he more or less decides he spent so much time and effort getting here and getting the woman out, he's not going to just leave them to die. I mean, he'd love to be done with this and get out of there. But at this point, in for a penny, in for a pound, okay?
So off they go, following wherever the girls are going to go. He's literally saying, I did not come this far to let them die now. But we're going to jump points of view again over to Perrin. Now he and Hopper are still in the world of dreams, the wolf dream, but they're in the Stone of Tyr in that dream. They've rescued Fael 2 more times already. Each time she has disappeared again. Now they've come upon another place where she is captive, in a way. Perrin sees a large room full of darkness, except for a circle of light. She's in the spotlight, right in the center of the room. In that light is a falcon chained to a perch. So he doesn't actually see Fael.
But he does see Fael Falcon.
Yes. And he can hear in the darkness seemingly the rustling of hundreds of wings. Moving toward the chained falcon, Perrin is attacked by other falcons, swooping in out of the dark.
Well, that's not great.
And they're raking him with their talons, they're biting him, they're wounding him mercilessly. All he can really do is protect his eyes as he continues to walk forward.
Is it called a bite or a peck? If it's with a beak.
Birds can bite. A peck would be just a peck. But they can actually bite with their mouth. So
I guess that's fair.
Probably both are happening. Probably. Jordo says vicious pecks. Yes, there's some vicious pecking going on, I am sure.
Vicious peckery.
Somehow that almost sounds dirty.
Oh, yes.
I don't know why. Reaching the perch in the center, Perrin has almost been overcome by the pain. But he manages to see that the chain on the captive falcon is fastened to the perch with a tiny lock shaped like a hedgehog.
Aha!
With the last of his strength, he reaches out and snaps it in two, and then, literally passes out. Moments later, Perrin opens his eyes, now back in the waking world. He's stinging from pain all over his body because he's got little slices everywhere, it seems.
Turns out those wounds in a dream, not quite so dreamlike. They actually affected him.
Right. And looking up, he sees Fael is there, and she's caring for him. He also sees the wooden hedgehog on the floor, now broken in two.
Nice.
He has saved her. He whispers to her, Fael, my falcon.
Quite literally.
And part of me goes, okay, so you saved her by breaking the hedgehog. Maybe you could have just broken the wooden hedgehog in the first place.
I don't think so.
Nah, I don't. I'm being snarky, but
because I think ter'angreal are a lot harder to break than that, and it says something that it was broken in this way.
Okay, we're going to switch POVs again. Move from that tender moment back to Rand.
Who to?
Still in the heart of the stone.
Where are we going?
But not. See, there's no bodies now. There's no fighting. It appears to be just him. Nothing's going on. He's just in an empty place now. Now, this is where he had opened up something with the power of Kalendor and walked through, and this is what he found. He's in the same place, but he's all alone.
So between what we've been seeing as possible things and the kind of theme we've been running in the past POVs, I feel like it's pretty fair we can take a guess at where he is.
Yes, and that would be Teleron Riyadh.
It seems as if somehow he is physically in Teleron Riyadh. Yes.
That's Discord's guess as well. He wonders, where's Baalzamon? Because I followed him here, and even as he thinks that, a blazing shaft of balefire comes striking out from the shadows.
That's not good.
Rand reflexively raises Kalendor, sending Saidin through it, and it parts the band of light, splitting it in two. It passes on either side of Rand, harmless to him, but it hits columns beyond him that just cease to exist, and then parts of the heart of the stone start collapsing because they're no longer being held up.
Nice. He cut the bullet and killed the bad guys behind him, except they were columns supporting the room. Maybe that's not great.
Pretty much. They were pillars, though, who weren't hurting anybody. Rand hears a snarl from the shadow, and he lashes out with Kalendor, using the power, and destroys more of the chamber, but misses Baalzamon, because he's running out of the chamber. He's heading off to some other part of the stone. So, of course, what does Rand do? I'm going to get you. He follows him. What ensues then is a chase scene. Typical chase scene. Baalzamon just stays ahead of Rand. In fact, Rand usually can only follow him by sound. He's like always right around the corner that's just ahead of him. He can never quite catch up enough to see him. Now, that's also being the case because when he does get a little closer, Baalzamon attacks. So there's always something happening. A whole bunch of weird power things. And we're not going to go into details on all of them.
Fair.
We get to a point where finally they do come back to the heart of the stone.
Well, that's nice. They went in a whole circle for us. Are those pillars still there, or are they still gone?
It's still a mess. So the pillars are gone now. Yeah.
Darn.
And there's Baalzamon. He's stopped running. He's backing away from Rand. He's cloaked in shadow. And he seems like he's going to throw some final strike of darkness at Rand. But more quickly, Rand uses Kalendor to cut Baalzamon off from the power that he's drawing on, and then plunges the sword right through his chest. Think it might work this time?
I mean, maybe?
Seems to me he's tried things like this. Baalzamon screams, and he howls, "Fool! The great lord of the dark can never be defeated!" But as Rand pulls the blade free, Baalzamon's body sags to the ground, and suddenly Rand is back in the real heart of the stone, surrounded by columns that are whole again.
Ooh, that's nice.
So the ones he destroyed, they're back. And there are fighting men screaming and dying all around him. He sees Moraine still crumpled on the ground.
Ow.
And the body of a man in front of him now with a hole burned through his chest. Finally, believing he is the Dragon Reborn, Rand raises Kalendor above his head, silver lightning crackling from it all across the roof of the dome, and he shouts out, "I am Randalthor! I am the Dragon Reborn!" And the room stills. And all who were fighting stop. They kneel to Rand, and the chant raises, "The dragon is reborn! The dragon is reborn!"
It feels like a Long Live the King, but like not quite.
Yeah, there's some similarity there. Heck of a chapter. The book and our episode, though, has one more short chapter, a quick wrap-up. Chapter 56 called People of the Dragon.
Okay.
And it opens with the reveal that the dragon banner that we first saw where, Zach?
Well, we first saw at the Eye of the World.
Yes. And then has had a few adventures.
It was unfurled at Falme, and then it was kept around for the camp. And now here is proclaimed atop the Stone of Tyr.
Waving in the morning air, and all across the city it can be seen. and people are chanting in the streets, "The dragon! Thor!" Because it turns out, not just the people in the stone, the heart of the stone, know what happened. That battle that happened in the dream world, Teleron Riyadh, whatever happened between Rand and Ba'alzamon, it invaded everyone's dreams. It's like, we interrupt your regular programming for this special announcement, and all of a sudden they all could see what was happening.
So what I'm hearing is the West got to see everything in the sky, and the South got to see everything in their mind as they slept. Is that a dream or a nightmare? I wonder.
Well, because the right guy won, they're seeing it as a dream. They saw the bad man vanquished.
Yay.
And the prophecy has been fulfilled. The Dragon Reborn has Kalendor, and he's here with us in Tyr. We are the greatest country in the world! That's how kind of people are probably thinking and celebrating.
Something like that.
The rest of the chapter is shared from Matt's point of view.
Nice.
He's amazed at everything that's happened, and he's still feeling some disbelief. Now, what specifically has him really going, I can't believe this?
Let's run down the list.
Well, yeah. First off,
Rand's here. We're just going to start with Rand is here, but it goes further.
Yeah, even the rulers of Tyr believe he's the Dragon Reborn. Rand, my buddy that I grew up with.
And Matt's still like, he's Rand.
He also can't believe Rand literally has Kalendor, and he's walking around the place holding onto this sword that no one can touch except the dragon.
So it's like, maybe I did get in a couple scrappy matches where we played with sticks like they were swords, and definitely gave the Dragon Reborn a bloody nose as a child. Oops.
He might be thinking, I don't think I'm going to mess with Rand anymore.
Yeah.
No more tricks, no more pranks.
Maybe we will, but maybe we'll just like hop, skip, and a jump away.
He sees the Aiel following him around, calling him he who comes with the dawn. It's like, I don't know what that's about.
Following Rand, not Matt, just to be clear.
Right. Matt notices the defenders of the stone and the remaining High Lords are also following Rand. Now that phrase, remaining High Lords, implies there are less High Lords this morning than there were last night.
Well, Matt did kill at least 2 of them, and Rand killed at least 1 of them. So we know of at least 3 that are dead.
No, we do not, because we did not see Matt kill High Lords.
Like,
we saw him defeat them.
You say that, but at least 1 of those has got to be dead.
One for certain is not.
Yes,
the first one, High Lord Darlin,
right. At least
still quite
one of
alive.
them is still alive.
I believe they're both still alive.
But I gotta think the other one's gotta... Matt just must either be really good at controlling his strength while also fighting for his life, or they got ridiculously lucky, because we know what damage a quarterstaff can do to watermelons.
But there was no watermelon smashing sound during the battle.
Just because Robert Jordan didn't describe the sound doesn't mean it didn't happen.
This is Fantasyland. This is Fantasyland.
Yes,
where
concussions
you can get
don't
hit
exist.
Upside the head, knocked unconscious, and then shake it off, rub a little dirt in it, and you're fine.
Fantasyland is funny. Bludgeoning damage doesn't exist. But slashing damage does ridiculous amounts of damage. You can get a blow to the head and be fine in an hour. But one little nick on your neck and, well, you're probably decapitated, so...
Unless you're in the world of Monty Python. It's just a flesh wound. Have at you now. Come back here. I'll bite your kneecap.
Something like that.
One more thing that he's scratching his head over is that there's a tense peace now between the defenders and the Aiel. I mean, last night they were trying to kill each other, but now apparently they're all on Rand's side. They're behaving themselves.
They were trying to kill each other. The Aiel were succeeding in killing the defenders more. But yeah, all following Rand means, I guess they're on the same side?
At this moment, Matt is seemingly in a meeting room. And also in this room is Ruark, who he met up on the rooftops. Apparently one of the big wigs with the Aiel. And he's just hanging out here in the room, off to one side, reading something. Matt's partly like, Aiel read? At the table are Moiraine and the 3 girls, catching up and comparing notes. I mean, remember, Moiraine didn't know anything about them being in Tyr, the mission they were on. So they're catching up. We learn what Matt overhears. and that is that Moraine doesn't yet know what's happened with Perrin and Fael, and the girls are like, Perrin's here?
Of course Perrin's here.
And she has found another of the 7 seals in the Dark One's prison.
Oh, good.
It was here amongst all the things of the power that the High Lords had stored.
Is it still in one piece? Please? Hopefully?
This one is.
Thank goodness. The Dark One's not free.
If they break, you're saying the Dark One will get free?
Well, I mean, they are considered to be the seals on the Dark One's prison. Also meant to be unbreakable, and we've seen multiple broken.
Now, since she's holding it, I can assume it's not the size of a room, like on the TV show.
No, that seemed a bit theatrical.
Yeah, we should save our comments on that since we have a whole episode coming up on that. Matt steps into the conversation at this point. Despite the clear sense that they feel like he is wasting their time by stepping in, he wants to know, how can all this be? The prophecies said the Stone of Tyr would never fall until the people of the dragon came. So does that mean we're the people of the dragon? Us and a few bloody 100 Aiel or so?
Well...
And Matt quickly apologizes for mentioning bloody Aiel as a descriptor to Ruark, who clearly didn't take too kindly to being described that way. Moraine's response is that, yes... She really doesn't know, but she's like, perhaps we all are the people of the dragon?
It's like, look, prophecies, they're going to happen. But how it happens, what it actually looks like, it's often not what we think it will be. Looking back on it, you can be like, yeah, that's right. But it's really hard to actually predict correctly.
Ruark then enters the conversation, dropping some relevant Aiel cultural details.
Yeah.
These are actually very important. We learn when Aiel men wish to become a clan chief, which Ruark is, they must go to a place called Ruidian, in the lands of the Gen Aiel, the clan that is not.
It's also known as a Wi-Fi router in my dad's house.
That's true. No mention of the password, please. Women wishing to become wise ones must make this same journey. They must go to Ruidian. Ruark doesn't know what happens to the women, but men who succeed in the journey, who are chosen, return with a mark on their left arm. And he holds out his left arm, pulls up the sleeve, and it reveals a dragon wrapping around his arm, like a tattoo on his skin. And it's the perfect match for the dragon that's on that dragon banner flipping around in the air above the stone. And he says, known only to the clan chiefs and the wise ones, another name for the Aiel is the people of the dragon. Mic drop moment. Bam. Matt is like, then it really is all done. And he's filled with relief, thinking this means basically he's off the hook. The Amerlin won't have to use him to blow that bloody horn of Valir now, because look, the battle's fought, people of the dragon are here, Rand won, woohoo! And Moraine's like, whoa, hold your jets, buddy. We still have issues.
Why? Why do we have to have issues? Why can't we be done?
She's breaking it down. The Forsaken are loose. Yes, Moraine took out Bilal, but there are more.
Okay, but we saw a couple of them die.
Yeah, but there's plenty more out there, somewhere.
Damn.
Also, there are 11 more Black Aja sisters out there somewhere, because they only captured 2. Amiko and Joya.
Gotcha.
And no one knows where the other 11 are, plus who knows how many there actually might be. So there's still the issue of the Black Aja. But Matt, he responds basically with, oh, sure, yeah, that's bad and all, but Rand has Kalendor, and Shaitan is dead, and that really gets a reaction out of Moraine. A real old Gandalf-type response. Be quiet, you fool!
Yeah.
Why?
Well,
Why is she so upset?
Maybe we've been told twice before that the Dark One is dead, and people have callously just thrown about his name, and then we've been like, hey, no, you're stupid, he's not dead.
That's right. The Dark One is still imprisoned in Shaiol Ghul. His shadow is still impacting the world.
Damn.
Rand killed a man, not the Dark One. I mean, if you truly killed the Dark One, would a body be left lying on the floor? No,
but
it's not like that.
But Matt's like, but it was Baalzamon. I recognize him. I saw him in my dreams. It's him. He's dead.
And yes, she says that's all well and good. The person who was calling himself Baalzamon. But that was not the Dark One, that was just a man. And she postulates this might have been the first of the Forsaken actually freed, or one that was never entirely bound, but it was definitely not the Dark One. Egwene speaks up then with a theory. She said Varen had once showed her a page in an old book that mentioned Baalzamon and the Forsaken Ishamael together with the phrase, a name hidden behind a name. So that man, who you thought was Baalzamon, might actually have been Ishamael.
Therefore, one of the Forsaken, and it kind of sticks in with Moraine's assumption.
She's saying basically this would mean at least 9 of the 13 Forsaken are still alive.
At least.
She names Lanfear, Samael, and Ravine. She's saying she's sure 4 have been dealt with. So which 4, Zach, is she saying are off the board?
Well, she bail-filed Balal. Ishamael just got stabbed through the chest. Big hole.
Mm-hmm.
Balthamel was consumed by the Green Man. And Agenor got burned to a crisp at the Eye of the World.
So 4 gone, 9 to go. Moiraine makes her final point on the ongoing serious danger the world faces by again highlighting that 3 of the 7 seals of the Dark One's prison have broken. They have the pieces. They've only found 1 that's not broken. With 3 of them for sure broken, he can be touching the world more now than he probably has been able to for millennia. Whatever battle was won here in the stone, it's surely not going to be the last one. No last battle here.
Darn. We were really hoping.
Internally, Matt is just shaking his head at Nynaeve, Egwene, and Elaine. Because, okay, we're talking about Black Aja, Forsaken, even the Dark One.
Oh my.
And they just seem determined. Yeah, all right, we will face this challenge. And he's like, are you listening to yourselves? And he's thinking in his head, okay, if you're going to go all hero type and try to solve this, you can forget about me joining in and saving your bacon. I've had enough of that. I'm no bloody hero.
Yeah, good luck with that.
And then something new happens. One of the doors opens, and a beautiful, tall, young woman walks in, wearing a coronet with a golden hawk in flight. Zach, what's a coronet?
Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that like a hairpiece thing? It's kind of like a crown or a tiara thing, but it's also kind of like it's somewhere between a crown and a hairnet, I think. Like, that's a really awkward, bad way to describe it, but I think I'm thinking of the right thing.
It's basically a headpiece of some sort for sure, and it shows her royalness. I can tell you there's no memes of a coronet, so I can't drop anything into the Discord. But it signifies this is not just a woman, this is a woman of
regal status,
high dignity, perhaps royalty. And she looks around the room. She announces, I am not used to being given messages to carry, and drops a folded message on the table before Moiraine, and then clearly wants to leave. But Moiraine questions her before she can go, and we learn this is Berelain, first of Mayenne.
Okay.
What do we already know of her, Zach?
Quick pause. Say the name again. I need to know how you say it.
I said Mayenne.
No, her name.
It could be Mayenne.
Her name.
Berelain.
Really? You say that one with only 2 syllables?
Yes, Berelain.
I always did a Berelain for that one.
Really?
This one might be the I'm horribly wrong, just like you're horribly wrong on Juilin. But yeah, I was a 3-syllable one. Anyway, first of Mayenne basically rules over Mayenne, but also was recently in Tyr to do some kind of treaty of sorts, and she was stubbornly digging her heels in, and then just randomly, suddenly capitulated to all demands.
Which was one of those signs Moiraine sensed that Rand was in town. By the way, in the Discord, Emmeline has come through for us and gave us a great picture of a royal coronet, which looks very much like we were thinking of something between a tiara and a crown.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see any big hairnet.
No, I don't see the hairnet piece
Zach.
on that part. But that's fine.
So, yeah, Berelain is clearly a ruler and dropped this message off. Further questioning reveals that Berelain doesn't know why she's delivering the message, or even who told her to do it. She only recalls it was a woman, and the woman was impressive. That's Berelain's word.
Just throwing out here. a reader at this point, with the knowledge we've got, goes, was this woman perhaps the most beautiful woman you've ever seen?
Well, keep in mind, Berylane is described as beautiful, and she's describing this other woman as impressive. It might mean, and she was even more beautiful than me.
So this might be a Lanfear sighting? This might be, maybe?
Well, let's just go a teeny bit farther. She flirts with Ruark and announces to Moiraine that she should inform the Lord Dragon that I will dine with him tonight. Now, this is great. She literally flirts with Ruark and then says, leave a message for the Lord Dragon that I will spend time with him later. Wow. What do we know about Berylane already right here? She has no issue with flaunting her womanly ways to manipulate situations to her favor. That's what I kind of pick up pretty quick there.
She also, in my brain, doesn't necessarily immediately know who the Lord Dragon is.
No, I would say she would, because everybody dreamed it.
Not if they were awake.
I'm going to guess she probably has seen him already, but maybe not.
I know. I just sit here and go, the guy with the dragon tattoo on his arm, that she flirts with him and then says she'll dine with the Lord Dragon. I think there's a little bit of a mix-up of she thinks Ruark is Rand.
No.
Just for a moment.
No, that one you're just wrong.
Just for a moment. I don't think it's something that she's going to hang on to for very long. But it's just, she's not quite as on it and knowing as she thinks she is.
Well, then she marches out of the room. And Matt has to admit, wow, she does make a bit of a striking statement. And Egwene and Elaine seem to not be quite as impressed. It might be because of the way she was dressed, because it is described that she was basically baring her bosom for all the world to see. I mean,
that
she was
is
practically popping out of the dress she's wearing.
Fashion in Mayenne, okay? She's just wearing what is culturally appropriate to her people.
And making the most of her assets. We've got this letter now. And Moiraine opens it and reads it, and then she shares it with all of them. It's written to Moiraine, and it reads, Luce Theron was mine. He is mine, and he will be mine forever. I give him into your charge to keep for me until I come. And it's signed, Lanfear.
Well, that's presumptuous.
Moiraine looks at Matt, holding this letter, kind of shaking it in the air. You thought we were done? Ha! Hardly. Matt, you're a Taviran. You're the sounder of the Horn of Valir. Nothing's done for you, buddy. And everyone else looks at Matt then, with various reactions on their faces. Now, keep in mind, a bunch of them did not know he blew the horn.
No, now it's just been, outed to random people and will presumably spread to some, at least, that Moiraine has just kind of put it. So even if you tried to get out, Matt, you're not out. I just screwed you intentionally.
And Matt, very smoothly, he's like, well, of course, I understand. You can count on me. But internally, he's like, I wonder how fast Tom will be healthy enough to leave town. We gotta go. Maybe we can get Perrin to come with.
And with that panic...
End of chapter.
Exactly.
And the book ends then with an excerpt from something written from the Songs of the Last Age, The Legend of the Dragon. Noted it's written in the 4th Age, so we can assume this is written by someone looking back at this time historically. And why don't you read what it says, Zach?
And it was written that no hand but his should wield the sword held in the stone, but he did draw it out, like fire in his hand, and his glory did burn the world. Thus did it begin. Thus do we sing his rebirth. Thus do we sing the beginning. That's only the beginning?
Now why don't you sing it, Zach?
I'm good.
No, don't sing it. Don't sing it.
I'm good. If I did, it would probably be Gregorian chant, just because it feels like it.
And that's the end of the Dragon Reborn. We'll save the singing for episode 100, the musical episode.
The more you say it, the more we gotta do it. Darn.
But yes, this is where Book 3 of the Wheel of Time has ended. We want to thank you all for being here. We want to invite you to join us on Discord if you're not already one of our Discordians. The invite link is down in our show notes. We want to encourage you to check out our merch shop and get some Fantasy for the Ages bling, a way you can support our show. You can also support us on Patreon and actually become one of our monthly supporters and get some extra benefits like joining us as our friends here have in the live recording, or getting Patreon-only episodes that we make about once a month, getting advanced access to all of our recordings and materials, lots of little benefits that we provide to thank our patrons for their ongoing support. And we encourage you to connect with us in any and every way possible. What are some of the ways they can find us, Zach?
Well, we are most active on Twitter, where you can join in and maybe even be part in some of the competitions that we hold every other month, our Tri-Reader tournaments. Beyond that, we also have a presence on Facebook. It's not as powerful, but that's because people aren't as powerful on Facebook nowadays either.
A dark and scary place.
However, we are quite present on our Instagram page, at least for those of you who are interested in our Watttail creations and a few other tidbits here and there.
And there are some people who actually use email still. So we do have an email address.
No way, really?
Yeah, it's a thing in some circles.
2022 and people still use email?
So fantasyfortheages@gmail.com if you want to send us an electronic letter, and we'll write you back. All right, if you're a first-time reader, now is the time to hop on out, because we're going to spoil a couple of things, as is our tradition. But thanks for being here. We'll talk to you next time.
The Spoiler Room.
And Zach, let's get our dice out.
Yeah, I ducked down to go get a die here.
I kind of figured you were, but they couldn't know that on the audio recording, so I figured I'd say something out loud.
That's fair.
Okay, I've had 3 weeks in a row rolling a 3.
And you did it with multiple dice. What I'm hearing is you need to send those to dice jail for a little while and get a new one. But
well, I am better today.
At least you're going to hope. Did you already roll?
I rolled, and I know I'm better today.
Oh, so you know you're better. I haven't rolled yet. Oh, I'm doing okay. What'd you get?
I got a 10.
I got better. I got a 15.
All right, well, you get to go first. What would you like to spoil, young man?
So I'm actually going to spoil 2 things if you'll allow it, because I'm going to do a tiny one.
What?
That is actually a piggyback on my last time spoil, I believe. May have been a time before that.
All right, get on with it. Go for it.
And then it added. Okay, so the first thing being, we see Egwene shield Amico, whatever you want to say, in the dream, but then she's still holding those shields, and they pause it. Maybe it's because she's like half in each, and no, I don't think so. I think it's because the channeling that is done by dream forms isn't really channeling, but is, and so it's interpreted in Amiko's mind as she's shielded, but she's not really, so she can maintain the hold on the shields, even though she's not actually able to channel because she thinks she's not able to channel. It's not an actual, true powered shield. That's that bit.
Okay.
The other thing that I personally want to actually spoil, there's a lot in this that I could go to. I think what I'm going to actually go with, though, is that Kalendor is not just a power Sa'angreal.
Right.
It is a 1 power and true power Sa'angreal. And
which we don't know anything about yet at this point.
No, but with that knowledge, I think we can see it. Because if you have full knowledge, you would know that Shamael almost exclusively uses the true power. And Rand, with Kalendor, cuts him off from whatever source he's drawing and then stabs him. So in my brain, he is only able to do this because he wields Kalendor as a true power instrument to sever that true power link before stabbing him and killing him. So there's a bit of spoilery bits in there as well as a little bit of a theory, but that's my spoiler room. Dad, what you got?
I'm going to talk about Berlane. This is where, we first actually meet her. She's a character a lot of people really don't like. I like Berlane. I've always liked Berlane. I will not always care for some of her choices later on in the series, but obviously this is where Perrin is meeting his hawk. He hasn't met her yet because he's not in this chapter, but the hawk and the falcon are both entering the story now. We're going to have these two tagging along with Perrin for books and books and months, and I don't know. I think it's great. I fully understand this woman in the sense that she is just a young woman surrounded by extremely powerful men and has figured out what to do in order to manipulate the world around her to her advantage. She does it very callously and purposefully, and what she's going to do to Perrin is all part of that.
Both Berlane and Fail get bad raps And I'm going to go out there. I might receive some hate for it, but I'm going to say most of the hate they get is actually from people who either secretly don't like Perrin as much, or they secretly like Perrin too much, and are just like, these people aren't good enough for him.
Oh, I don't know about that.
They're both interesting characters, in my opinion. They actually are. Give them their dues.
Yeah. In both cases, the issues between Berelain and Faile never would have happened to anywhere near the degree they did if Perrin was a different person. But he has no clue how to interact with either one of these women, and that's where a lot of the troubles end up coming from. But we'll get to that. I just wanted to point out, Berelain, yay! I'm happy she's here. She's going to be here a long time now. She's going to play many significant roles in this series, and I have no Berelain hate.
Neither do I.
I like Berelain.
I don't have a lot of hate, except for a little bit of hate here and there where it's just fun to have some hate.
I mean, there is that one time where she allows people to think Perrin and she did the nasty right after Faile disappeared. That wasn't cool, but no one's perfect.
But that doesn't mean I dislike the character. That just means it's a bad thing to do. Anyway, that's our episode for today, right?
That is our episode for today. That's the last on our content, again, for the Dragon Reborn. We'll be back next week with our fun episode just celebrating the book.
Woo!
And the journey so far. But until then, we'll talk to you next time.